The teen population is in the United States is peaking right about now. There's about 16 million 15 to 19-year-olds. About 12 million of those are licensed, but we are at the peak. The children of the baby boomers, that what's it called, a cohort, I guess, in academia, is peaking right now. And these teen drivers share the road with us. So here's a statistic that hopefully will make you shudder. You think it's only the concern of parents of teen drivers? Well, I mentioned 6,428 fatalities. That's 2,739 teen drivers and 3,689 others. Passengers, other drivers, pedestrians, bystanders. So the teen drivers actually take with them, if I can use that phrase, more people than they kill themselves. And just as a footnote, on this 2,739 teen drivers who died, 70% of those were boys, and 30% of the fatal accidents involved alcohol. And just to give you an order of magnitude, 36 of the total 606,428, 36 of those were in Connecticut. We are actually one of the safer states in the Union. I believe just based on population, the leading the way are California, Texas, and Florida. Here's another perspective, and I got thinking about this from a column written by John Roseman, the parenting expert, somebody's column you see all the time in the Hartford Courant and some of the other newspapers. Mr. Roseman asked a group of parents, would you allow your teen to participate in an activity that had a 1 in 10,000 chance of death? Parents said no. And then he said, well, did you know that teen driving is significantly more dangerous than that? Interesting perspective. And again, these are sort of round numbers, but you want to know what the average chances are just based on the number of fatalities and the number of drivers. 1 in 4,381 for a fatality, 1 in 30 for a crash. And hold this thought, because I'm going to come back to another way to look at this so-called average chances. So let me go back to my son's accident. He was, this is a Google map, he was driving on Interstate 84. This is the Southington area. This is exit 32. And I'm sure this is a stretch of road that probably most of you in this room know about. There's this long straightaway that goes, there's the Patton Brook, or what's now called the Hawks Landing Golf Club, right over here. The Plainville Cinemas, the theaters are here. The Tilcon facility is here. So there's this 2-mile stretch where the speed limit is 65, and right here you go past exit 33 on the left, and then there's this sharp turn to the right. And the speed limit goes from 65 to 50, basically in no time at all. And then exit 34 is right here on the right, and that's where his accident was. It was 10:30 on a Friday night. He was not where he was supposed to be. He had permission to go out in the car, but he was supposed to be in Wethersfield. He ended up in Southington and then Plainville. He had 2 passengers who were not where they were supposed to be either. But what happened was he went too far straight into the curve, saw he was in trouble, that he was in the wrong lane, overcorrected, hard turn to the right, and the car went into a spin. He was not on his phone. He was not texting. There was no drugs, no alcohol. His passengers were legal, and it was 90 minutes before the state's curfew, which was then midnight. So, and his speed was estimated at about 75. There was one report, interestingly enough, that his speed was about 100. An accident specialist told me that if that was true, he probably would have been alive today, because he started to spin right here. If he was going 100, he would have ended up over here. But at 75, the spinning car ended up going in this direction. Now, the point I want to make is that when that car started spinning, the only way that he was going to be seriously hurt was, and remember, this is a vehicle that's spinning. The only way he was going to be seriously hurt was if the driver's side of the car hit the end of that guardrail flush right in the middle of the driver's side door. And that's exactly what happened. If you look at these slides, you'll see there's a The police report says not wearing his seatbelt at the time. There was actually conflicting evidence. His passengers say he was wearing his seatbelt, but for a side impact that ultimately killed him, it wasn't going to make any difference. So the point is, obviously, that 6,428 fatalities, 400,000 crashes. Which column you end up in is sometimes just a matter of inches. Back to the task force and what I learned about the dangers of teen driving. I mentioned that it's the leading cause of death of people under 20 in the United States, but it far outstrips these other categories, which we hear about a lot: suicide, homicide, smoking, various diseases, electrocution, drowning. And let me be clear that the information about the dangers of teen driving is out there. What really bothers me is, and I learned this on the task force, is you have to dig for it. It's sort of squirreled away in academic journals and so government reports. And it's interesting to raise the question of whether the government, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the driving schools, which are, if you're raising a teen driver, those are the two institutions that you deal with. Are they really the right agencies or institutions to deliver the message about the dangers of safe teen driving? Perhaps the motor vehicle department, they administer the licenses and fines, but are they really the ones that are set up to deliver this message? And likewise, frankly, the driving schools, they recognize that they are a for-profit business. They're trying to lure customers. They're not exactly going to be the best vehicle, no pun intended, to bring you in and tell you how dangerous this activity is. So question whether you can rely on these two main sources for some good information. That brings me to what really has become my mantra, my message. If you remember nothing else that I say tonight, I hope you'll take this back with you. There is no such thing as a safe teen driver, and those of you with keen powers of observation will note the title today is not a discussion of safe driving, but safer driving, because in my view there is no such thing as a safe teen driver. Why? There are three reasons, and it starts with this chemical imbalance in the brains of teens. The clinical names are dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is the chemical in the brain that creates excitement and desire. Serotonin is and there's a chemical that actually develops a portion of the brain, but that's the part that has risk assessment and caution and judgment. Until teens are in their mid-20s, there's this imbalance. As one of the articles I read said, it's all gas and no brakes, and it doesn't come back into balance until they get to their mid-20s. The second reason is that good driving judgment, think about when you're behind the wheel. It's a constantly changing environment, lots of different factors that you see, and you have to constantly adjust and readjust. It takes, according to the driving instructors, 3 to 5 years to develop good judgment about driving. And the requirement to put a driver on the road, even under Connecticut's revamped law, is 40 hours. That's a week. So you're not going to get good driving, anywhere near good driving judgment in the amount of hours that we require to license people. And the third reason is we train them on local streets in a compact car. Most driving schools, you get a subcompact, a Ford Focus, or not to pick on Ford, it's a very small car. And then they get in the family SUV and drive into downtown Boston on the Mass Pike. So we train the kids locally, but then they are sent out to drive. They're constantly driving in places they have never been before. So think about you as adults, as experienced drivers, how hard it is. You go to a new city and it's easier with a GPS, but you're looking around, you're trying to figure out your way. Try combining that with learning how to handle a car, and it becomes a very daunting task. So the point is that these are three reasons that are really immutable. You can't change them just by giving a kid driver's ed and 50 hours of on-the-road training. These three reasons are why I say, and many of the driving instructors say, that driver's ed and prayer is not a parenting system for a teen driver.